the largest fraud in automotive history. Elon Musk was interviewed a few times about this, and he's like, oh, I don't want to talk about this. I sued Governor Gavin Newsom because it's hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that are being spent. It's the largest fraud in automotive history. The problem is it's only in California, and it's such a subset that it hasn't gone national.
Okay.
But Toyota is it's a family business to this day.
Okay.
And they started in the early, or late 1800s. It's just they're doing wooden looms. And then this guy sees his mom's a seamstress, Sachichi Toyota, whatever his name is. And he invents the first electronic, a machine-powered seamstress machine.
Okay.
And he has this vision of selling cars, and he keeps that in the family. And eventually they make cars, and then they start gaining success in the United States. Okay.
Right.
They have luxury exports to the United
This is probably
States.
what, in the 70s and 80s?
Yeah.
Okay.
They couldn't break into the market because the terrain of Japan is so vastly different from the highways here. So they were making bigger, bulkier cars, and people wanted more muscle cars. But they figured that out, and then they started making luxury cars, luxury exports in the United States. Lexus, they had that brand. And then in around probably the 80s, right? So before I'm born, they already can see that electric batteries are going to be the next thing. Japan has the highest holdings in liquefied natural gas of any country. They brokered Australia. They're a big player in that region.
Okay.
So they need to have some kind of way to keep LNG relevant because they're also the largest automaker of ICE engines, internal combustion engines. Okay.
Tell me again, LNG?
Liquefied natural gas.
Okay.
So it's like fossil fuels,
all right,
whatever, boring stuff. So
LNG.
In any event, they come out with this idea of hydrogen. Okay, it's an abundant resource. Hydrogen is the most abundant resource on the planet, and they're going to be able to steam reform methane. Okay, and that keeps it's a fossil fuel, no carbon capture, so it's bad for the environment. But this at least keeps them relevant. Are you following?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not like here. Elon had a brief stint in the government, but otherwise, no private company has any seat at the table in the government officially, right? They do a lot of lobbying, but in Japan, in the ministry is the CEO of Toyota. I mean, it's the backbone of their country. It's a huge part of their GDP. So they're really pushing this hard. They sell this in Japan, and the only other market that they bring this to is California. Okay, so in the early 2000s, through Governor Schwarzenegger at the time, they start building the California Fuel Cell Partnership. Fuel cell is the technology to generate hydrogen into a car. So it's basically hydrogen powering an electric battery in a car. I'll get to the fraud in a second.
Okay. No. Well, I'm not in a hurry. No, I'm just thinking, what is the process? Very dumbed down of turning hydrogen into liquid hydrogen. I think of hydrogen as a gas.
Yeah. So they're isolating hydrogen. I can only give you the dumbed down version. They're isolating hydrogen from methane through just extreme heat. They're able to isolate those particles. Then they don't clean up any of the bad stuff, so that goes into the environment.
Okay.
But then they have hydrogen, and then they're able to pressurize it. It has to be pressurized the equivalent of 5 miles into the ocean. So it's extreme PSI.
Right.
And it has to be chilled many degrees below zero. Okay. And then they have.
So now you've got a block of
gas,
ice, hydrogen.
Well, they have it. They have it in different forms. Actually, you're right. They could do it in liquid. They can do it in ice. They can
sit in this in your car.
Right, but it's gas. They store it at this really cool temperature. Okay. So they at the same time that they're developing this bizarre technology that you're identifying kind of already sounds a little weird. They're already starting to roll out the cars, right? And commercially, the cars hit California in 2015 and 2016. And they start selling them in Japan too. Only other place that they sell it.
Okay, so you're selling cars. So the cars as fuel is liquid hydrogen, correct?
Liquid hydrogen or gaseous hydrogen, mostly gaseous.
Okay, gas. Okay, hydrogen. That's what the
car
runs on.
Correct.
What are they marketing it as? Hey, we have a new.
Yeah, they market
exactly.
it as eco-friendly.
I went into Toyota of Santa Monica to pose. So I get a call. This is how it starts for me. Okay. I represent 1,000 people that are suing Toyota. Not like I filed one class action and then I'm hoping that other people will be able to be part of this class. I represent 1,000 different people.
Right.
I'm in a Telegram chat with them. Got 300 people in one Telegram chat. I do these huge Zooms, town halls with updates on the case.
Have you ever Googled your name with one quick search? I can find all of your information on very sketchy websites. Your phone number, your old addresses. Want to know how scammers get your information? This is it. And that's why today's video is sponsored by Aura. There are companies called data brokers that take your personal information without asking and sell it to anyone, marketers, scammers, even stalkers. That's why your phone blows up with spam and weird texts. And if you want to get your information removed, they make it really hard on purpose. But Aura does this for you automatically, and they keep it off. Aura is not just for data removal. It helps me protect my whole digital life. They also give you a VPN to keep your internet private, a password manager to keep your login safe, antivirus software to stop hackers, data broker removal so companies stop selling your information, and $5 million in identity theft insurance just in case. It's like locking every door in your digital house. Go to aura.com/Matt to try Aura for free for 14 days. You'll see exactly where your information is being sold. I'm not leaving myself wide open. You shouldn't either. Once again, that's aura.com/Matt for a free 14-day trial.
This woman calls me. I'm already like, a year into practicing my own firm, kind of scrappy, just doing things for friends and family and stuff like that. This woman calls me, hey, I was recommended to you, and Toyota sold me this car, and the car don't work. I can't get fuel, and it's cooking my ass, Jason. It's cooking my ass. And I'm thinking, like, this sounds insane, right? She sounds crazy.
Right.
Hydrogen and Toyota's like the most reliable company. What is she talking about? So the heat seaters on the Generation 1 would turn on randomly, and you couldn't turn them off. She literally would have to put towels on the seat in order to, because it's hot. And she was in Northern California. It gets hot in the summer. So if you're ready, it's out, the ambient temperature's outside like 100 degrees and you have heat seaters. I mean, you are in trouble, right? So she's like, it's cooking my ass. So I'm thinking like, this woman's nuts. I don't want to, Callie Williams. I love you, Callie. Really. And she keeps calling me. She wouldn't stop calling me. She's like, no lawyer wants to take this case. I cannot get a single lawyer to listen to me, but Toyota is making unreliable cars. They fooled me, and I'm getting the car towed. I'm constantly getting stranded. I can't get fuel for this car.
Yeah, she sounds insane.
She sounds insane.
Yeah. And she's telling you
hydrogen.
that
I'm like Googling it. I never even heard of it. What are you talking about?
Right.
Okay. That she wouldn't stop calling me. And
you have gas and electric. That's it.
There you go. I go into other lawyers' offices. I put her on speakerphone. I'm like, boom. And they're like, you cannot, even if she's saying anything that's true, right? Which they're like, we don't believe her. She sounds nuts. Like, we're not going to deal with this. Fine. Her son finally calls me, and he's like a calmer dude. He explains the situation. And I'm like, okay, there's something here. Send me your paperwork. Cause there's no way. Once I digested it and explained it to the other attorneys, they're like, there's no way that they didn't sell it with these disclosures up the wazoo. Like, you go skiing, you can't sue me, if something happens, whatever.
Of course.
So I'm like, that's for sure. Nothing, right? There's not a single, they don't mention that there's this alien technology that you're getting involved in. So I'm like, oh, that's fraud, right? You can't sell. And the second generation looks like a Lexus. It's built on the same frame. So I went in. Around this time, I go to Toyota Santa Monica myself, and I'm like, are you guys selling this? Yeah, we're totally selling it. I'm like, oh, yeah, tell me about it. It's the next best thing since sliced bread. It's the next Prius. You're getting in early. You should get in on this car. And there's all these rebates and free fuel. Free fuel at the time in LA, gas went up to like $7 a gallon. Right. So free fuel, you tell that to someone, that sounds really appealing. And it's Toyota, right? And the salesperson says, we drive it. I'm like, oh, I'm hearing in the media that you can't get fuel though. Oh, don't believe that. They're building more pumps. It's going to be amazing, right? Now, by this time, I represent hundreds of people that are telling me that they're running the same script on them. So, okay, they're clearly being fed this from corporate to tell them that.
Right.
Okay. By the way, everything until I tell you otherwise is publicly available information. This is not some like tinfoil conspiracy type of thing. Okay.
Right.
So,
the Toyota's saying that the fuel it's free. Where do you get it? Do you have to go to the dealership?
No, there are hydrogen stations around California. So the California Energy, it's all California, baby. So we got bleeding green hearts, and you're able to just they got over $100 million from the state of California, Toyota directly, in order to fund this nonsense, right? So the state will help pay for these stations. Okay, each station that gets built inevitably closes down within 2 years because let's say when you go fill up gas, okay, there's a certain smell that's put in. That's not natural to the gasoline process experience refinery, right? They put that in there in case there's a leak,
Right, like they do, like they do with your gas stove, or
Precisely.
because you have a gas leak, you can walk in and go, "Oh wow, there's a gas leak."
Precisely. Hydrogen needs to be that pure, right? So I told you it needs to be stored like the PSI at 5 miles below the ocean, super cool. It also needs to be that pure that if they even put an odorant, the whole machine would get messed up.
Right.
Okay, so you're talking about it needs to be that pure. I mean, that's insane. All right, just that basis alone, it's not commercially viable. There are only there's three, but there's really two major companies that even have it. It's First Element True Zero, which was I don't know, it's the shadiest, most shelly company I've ever seen in my life. You can't figure out really how they're getting money. The only money that they actually have is from Toyota or the California government. Okay, so like 50 million, 100 million from Toyota, and then another 50 million from the California government to help them build these stations.
Okay.
Okay.
I have another question. Maybe you'll get to it, but how does the government just give away $100 million to fund a project that Toyota should be funding themselves? If it's their
because they're telling the government that this is going to be green. This is going to become one day the greenest thing. And the government is like, nice. And so each democratically elected governor is just hiking up DMV fees, $3 here, $5 there.
Right.
And there's the money.
No, I'm not
40
saying
million
I
people in
know
California.
where taxes come from. I'm saying like I can't believe that they don't look into this to make sure that it's
No. It's not even, you don't even look into this. Like I'm saying, everything is publicly available. Okay.
Right.
So the federal government canvassed all of the California hydrogen stations from 2015 through the second quarter of 2021. So the second quarter of 2021 is really the richest data set because by then stations are already operating. They've sold thousands of these cars. So you kind of know like if there's faulty parts, they should have fixed it by then. The stations were down. According to the feds, that's a pretty neutral place. It's not me getting an expert witness coming up and going around.
Yeah, it's
The
not
feds.
California.
It's not California.
Who needs to make it look like it's a good thing.
How you doing? The feds conclude that the stations are down more than they're up because they keep going down for maintenance, right? Because these are extremely complicated machines, right? In order to store it, move it, like get it into the
small
car.
nuclear power plants that we're just placing on the side of the road.
Oh, 100%.
Waiting for people to come and use it, and every once in a while they go offline.
100%.
When you say the liquefied thing, you know what it makes me think of? Back to the Future when Doc Brown is pulling out the plutonium and it's like steaming and he's like puts it in the back. Let's go,
Dude, for sure. About a year and a half into the litigation, I got a phone call from this guy. And I'm getting calls left and right because I'm finally the first. And this whole time I'm in business, even till this day, right? There's a couple other firms that are doing it and I'm helping them, right? But there's really very few people that even know about like the litigation surrounding this. And especially not in the beginning, right? I'm literally the only attorney that's prosecuting this. And I've had a couple hundred clients, but there's something in the back of my mind that's like, this is insane. What is going on? I get a call from one guy. Hey, are you doing the hydrogen litigation? Right, literally like that. And I go, oh, yeah, I think it's another client. And I'm ready to get into my spiel of like, yeah, screw Toyota. This is like, they're making unreliable cars. This thing's a total fraud. And he goes, no. And something about the way he started talking, he started having a lot of technical information. And I was driving. I pull over. I'm like, where are you? I'm like, I want to come meet you because of how much he knew. This guy's name is Michael Dre. He's an attorney with a background in alternative energy. His wife was a professor at a UC school.
He just happens to sound like a hillbilly.
He has the most authentic Southern drawl that just like you just would believe anything this guy says. I mean, but he happens to be he's a beautiful person.
Matlock.
He helped me for years for free. I just the nicest guy. Okay, so I go meet him at his porch in Pasadena. He's always smoking a cigar, and he starts telling me that he got hired by this UC school. They got a grant from the state of California. They're UC school, so all their money is really from the state. But they also get an additional grant, some from philanthropy, but some from the state, to build a hydrogen station. Now, it has this background in alternative energy. His wife's a professor there. He gets tapped to manage the project. Okay, and it's millions of dollars. And he figures out there were certain pressuring systems that weren't working. He figures out how to get it off the ground. And this UC school is actually making green hydrogen, right? They're making hydrogen fuel you can put in a car from water. They're the only ones that are doing it. Everyone else is from that weird steam reforming methane thing that I was talking about earlier.
Right.
Okay. So he's actually making it green.
Okay.
Toyota, in order to sell hydrogen to the public, you have to go through the California Fuel Cell Partnership, which is this quasi-governmental entity that's essentially run by Toyota. And this guy named Spencer Kwan, who is like a engineer kind of guy, but he's running these meetings. And when he finally gets from like the fire department and all the other necessary certifications in order to make this thing get off the ground and be safe for the public, certifiably safe, Toyota goes, yeah, no, this doesn't work for us. We're not, they knock him off. There's a website, h2fcp.org. That's where people know where the hydrogen stations are up or down.
Right.
Right. They look like regular gas stations. Sometimes they're in a gas station. There's just one pump that says hydrogen. Okay.
Right.
And Toyota goes, no, you cannot be, your
off the
station.
list.
Yeah, you're off the list.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for us here. Why? Oh, you don't have a credit card reader. We need a credit card reader because, and they actually can control because they gave these free fuel cards to people.
Right.
So if you don't have it, they actually have a lot of say. They can say, if they canceled people's warranties for the car, they threaten them. If you go to fill it up anywhere, if you find some mad scientist on the road that figured out how to make hydrogen, we're not going to honor the warranty of this car. Okay. So he has to go put a credit card reader in this machine. He spends, $100,000 of the university money to do that. Oh, well, we need you to store it at this thing. We need you to do that. And they just keep moving right?
Yeah.
They don't let him on this, on the website. So they have a chokehold on the regulators in relation to this entire industry because they want to keep it gray, hydrogen, right? They don't want it to go green.
Why not?
Because they have holdings in liquefied natural gas.
Oh, okay. So they don't want it. If you can suddenly just take salt or seawater, you can take water and do it yourself, then they lose control of their...
Which you can't anyways, because it is so energy intensive that it's not commercially viable to... The process, I mean, I'm distilling it.
Yeah.
But the process of what he's talking about, he had to hire NASA like jet propulsion engineers in order to get in there and figure out how to even make it happen at all. And the whole thing's being funded by the university this entire time, which is why he's crying in these meetings going, this is state tax dollars. Like, why are we not being allowed to sell this to the public? People would come to him for fuel and he'd have to turn them away at different times. The interesting thing is also, this I don't know. I don't know this for sure, but he claims that before they ran this car to the EPA and said that we want to get it certified of like what the mileage is on the car, they would go to his station because he had enough control to put more fuel into the car to get more mileage out of the car. That's what he says.
Right.
And they said that the car gets 400 miles. I represent like 1,000 people, like I said. Not a single one of them gets more than 250. Now, at the time, in 2021, hydrogen fuel for these people was like, $10 a kilogram, and it's 5 kilograms for the car. So it's $50 to fill up the car.
It's a lot.
$50 to fill up a car?
You're from California.
That is hilarious.
My
You're
wife-
griping over $50 to fill up a car?
My wife fills up. Have you just drive by the prices? They're like $2.80 a gallon. My wife fills up her whole truck for like $32, $35. And it's a Toyota, by the way.
I don't even remember a time in California. I'm sure there was a time when I was alive, but probably not when I was driving that it was
I remember
too
people went nuts because it went to $1 a gallon. $1 a gallon. This is communism. That's what I was like. I don't understand.
Okay, well then this is gonna knock your socks off. It's now $39 a kilogram. So
But I thought they said it was free gas or free fuel.
they give free fuel to people. They give you a card, but that card's gonna run out real quick if it's $250 to fill up your car.
Oh, so they give you an allowance.
Yeah, it's a debit card, a $15,000 debit card, or 3 years.
Right, but I thought I buy the car and all my fuel is free from Toyota. They pay for all of it.
No.
You're saying they give you they say, $200 a month.
No. They give you a card. They tell you that this should last 3 to 6 years, this card. And it's a $15,000 card.
Right. Okay. So they give you $15,000 worth of hydrogen.
But if it costs you $250 to fill up,
I understand
and you're only getting 250 miles, you're paying $1 a mile.
It's dropping very quickly.
That card is done within a year, easy.
Okay.
So now this person's stranded with a car. They cannot get. So Callie Williams, the person who was cooking her, numerous times, and they know this. If you have back-to-back fuelings because of how cold they have to keep it, the pump will freeze onto. If you do a back-to-back fueling, it will freeze onto your car. It's just a matter of how long. Will it be 2 minutes? Will it be 10? And if you did back-to-back fuelings, you could be there for an hour. It'll just click onto your car, and people. You ever watched The Big Lebowski where the guy's like doing that with the bowling ball, right?
Yeah.
So people take cowls in their car in order to like heat it off the car. And like people would go fuel and they'd look at the other guy and go, first time, you don't have a towel, like as if that's supposed to be like a normal thing. And you're not told any of this when you go to the dealership.
Right.
So this is pretty crazy, right? They sold 20,000 of these cars. The only other person that got involved in this was Hyundai. They sold about 2,000. Honda sold 100 Clarities. That was their version of this. No, not only did they say they didn't even let people keep the car, right? So it was like closed in leases. And if I spoke to one person that owned it, they said if I ever complained about, I can't get fuel, they're like, yeah, it's free for this month. You don't have to pay us. We'll forgive your car note. Okay. The Americans, this Michael Dre with the Southern accent, he was there through the inception of this whole fuel cell partnership even growing. And it runs on fuel cells. Like Elon Musk in 2014, he was interviewed a few times about this. And he's like, I don't want to talk about this. This is so stupid. Like you'll see the litigation coming. And I'm like, I'm that guy. Right. I'm the litigation. And I came.
We should find that. We should find that clip. Elon Musk.
It's like a grainy fight. He like doesn't want to even get into it. He's like, this is such a stupid idea. There was in Japan, there was a trade show. I guess the guy didn't think that it would make, but it's still out there. One of the chief design officers of the Toyota Mirai. Mirai is Japanese for future. He says the same thing. He goes, yeah, this was stupid. Right? This is just not working.
Then why aren't they going and saying, hey, let's swap these vehicles out for Camrys. We'll give you a Camry. There's nothing wrong with Camrys. Why not swap them out and try and quash this whole thing? Do they have so much money in it?
Yeah.
That
it's not about they have so much money in it.
They're trying to create a market that they can control.
But I think it's more about the fact that they have such large stakes in the liquefied natural gas sphere that if they can divert any amount of commercial activity, consumer awareness or knowledge, like we're talking about hydrogen now, and make it seem like it's a competitive thing to battery, or even that battery's bad. Look, hydrogen didn't work. Batteries are bad. Like any sort of delay and retarding of the battery adoption, they're winning, right? It's like $1 trillion a month. I don't know the numbers, right? Astronomical, insane numbers. So they can delay it by 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever they're delaying it by, anything that they're delaying, they're winning.
Okay, and they're still
and
selling
I think
the cars?
also these are the Japanese. They're still selling the cars.
Okay,
they're still selling the cars. So by the way, I don't know when you release these, but whenever you release this episode,
a couple weeks. Maybe.
Amazing. By the time you release it, I'll have filed an injunction asking the federal judge to tell them to stop selling the car. And I think I have a 50-50 shot of winning something like that. I don't know. A federal judge is not really gonna. I mean, you're pretty familiar with the legal system. I mean, think about it. A guy in a robe is going to go tell a private company to not sell a car. It could go either way. It takes big balls for a judge to do that, and I hope one does.
Right.
I think what I would win is that they should stop negative credit reporting people that stop paying these car notes, because that's what they're doing. A lot of people are like, I cannot afford. I needed to get another car. But if they live somewhere that's nowhere near a pump and no new pumps ended up coming to fruition, they can't use the car. Why should I still pay for this car note? That's $600 a month, right? It's a luxury car. It's
right.
$60,000 car.
It might be more than $600 a month. That doesn't seem like a luxury. That's more like
they get manufacturer
$1,400.
rebates. Yeah, the highest note I saw was like $800 or $900.
What are these 5-year leases? I mean,
no. They bought them. They all bought them. And you get a manufacturer rebate. Some of them traded in or brought equity into the deal. Imagine there's a guy, Zachary Graham. So I have 122 arbitrations, 110 arbitrations, a state case with like 500 plaintiffs, and now I'm launching this federal case.
Why isn't Toyota have they not come to you and said, hey, look, let's just we'll take the cars back? Like, why can't they just take the cars back?
They could do better. They can convert the cars, get rid of this hydrogen contraption, and just make them electric cars. But they would never do that.
No, they're not going to do that.
No,
I think
for the same reason, they're not going to take back the cars. They're not going to admit that they messed up on this level. But here's what I really think. They're you look at like a Mustang or whatever. They'll revamp the whole car like year over year. Like American companies are nuts. They'll just the Japanese. They'll add 6 horsepower. They're very calculated.
Yeah. These vehicles look identical year after year after year. You have to really figure out
Yeah.
like, they look, the reflectors are now 4 inches. They used to be 6, or now they're octagon shaped, or there's very subtle, if any.
Right. They saw this coming, right? And they did a calculation. They said if we only sell 20,000, it'll get diluted. We're selling them in California. It's a huge market. 20,000 cars over since 2016 to this day. That's nothing. They sell 400,000 cars a year in California.
Right.
We're talking about a small subset of this market.
It's the Pinto. It's the actuary from the Pinto.
Yeah, but no one's dying, thank God. If people were dying, I wouldn't have the case, right? They wouldn't have given it to babyface me as you were making sure I knew that I was. They wouldn't have given. The people wouldn't have come to me. It would have if the cars were. There was a big fire in 2019. There was an explosion at a hydrogen plant, but I mean, you got to give them credit that none of the cars are blowing up.
Yeah.
I mean, these things are crazy contraptions.
Well, they're running on ice. Pretty
They're
much,
running
right?
on.
It's hard to set ice on fire,
Right.
but yeah.
Yeah. And to get it to the computer within the car to read with the pump, the amount of computing power and anything they created the fueling standard. That was another thing they did to this Michael Dre guy. They retroactively set a standard that was like really high. Anything that could happen, it needed to shut off the whole machine because they don't want people dying. That would kill their brand.
Right.
So
That bring a lot of attention.
that would bring a lot of attention. The American companies looked at this in the early 2000s and they right away said, like, we're not touching any of this. Like Ford, whatever. They're like, no, we're not. They had prototypes. They would go to this Michael Dre character and like fill it up, drive it around a little to the university, and eventually they're like, yeah, we're not touching this sort of thing. So it's only been this pipe dream basically of Hyundai and Toyota, with Toyota being the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
Okay, so I mean, you're saying are you currently in mediation? I mean, are they just saying go fuck yourself? They're not saying we'll take the cars back. Nothing like that. Or are they fighting it tooth and nail, or are they saying
they're fighting it? They're fighting it. We're still in litigation. I'm talking about it with you. If it was settled, I wouldn't be here. I filed an antitrust lawsuit against Toyota, and that was quickly not the route to go because, like lingerie in law, less is more.
right?
So it's a complicated thing, antitrust. Antitrust is usually litigated by the government. Right now, they're going after Apple. Again, Apple's always getting hit up for antitrust because they're a huge company and they have a chokehold on a lot of different industries.
Right.
So, like, let's say suitcases, when they first started charging for suitcases, that was a coordinated effort by the airlines, and they actually nailed them for that. The government, antitrust violation. It was originally an entire area of law conceived just because of Rockefeller.
The railroads, right? And gas and
Exactly. So my argument...
I took intro to business. I know some stuff.
My argument was that, look, Toyota created this industry of hydrogen-powered cars, and they have control over it, and they're abusing that control. And their argument was, no, there's no subset. There's no hydrogen-powered retail market, right? There's just cars. There's retail cars, and we don't have a control over retail cars, right? So they were able to broaden the scope. And I was like, this isn't what that case is about anyways. This case is about when someone goes to a Toyota dealership and they're looking for a Camry, okay? And then the guy's like, no, you don't want a Camry. You want this thing. You're going to be the pioneer of this, and everyone's going to be like, you're a genius that you got in early, right? So it's about fraud. It's not about highfalutin antitrust anyways, right? So I dismissed that, and then we just went with this state court complaint because state court California juries are like, that's the best place in the world to be a litigator, right? You get 12 retired actors, you tell them a good story, they'll pay you, okay?
Right.
And we have the face of those cases, and we're asking now the judge to make Zachary Graham. So he's an active military guy. He was serving in the military. His first tour, he buys from like Toyota of Orange. He gets a Corolla, and he tells them, "Hey, I'm gonna get deployed. I want to be able to return the car." And they say, "Yeah, no problem. You'll be able to return the car." And he does. He gets deployed out of the country, returns the car. They take it back, cancel the rest of the note. He's like, that was perfect. He comes back to the U.S. He does some more work for the military here in L.A. and he needs a new car. So same thing. He goes to Toyota Santa Monica, and they're like, "You want this Mirai? You want this hydrogen powered car?" He's like, I might get deployed. They're like, no problem. So he ends up getting deployed to Virginia for like special ops training or whatever. And because he got deployed within the United States, their program didn't allow for him to just trade the car in. They're like, you're still in the US, so it doesn't count. He cannot take the car to Virginia because there's no hydrogen in Virginia.
Right.
He had to get a loan from the military. That's like supposed to be a special loan for like small businesses or whatever.
Right.
To pay off the car because the car was just going to sit there. So now he's paying interest on money, like double interest.
Right.
All
to
of
get out of the situation where they should have just taken the car back.
All of the car notes, like 90% of them, are financed by Toyota Motor Finance.
Right.
So they're in control of the situation. And it's exactly what you said. They should just take the cars back. That's really the situation. But the reality is this is a huge scandal. This is like bigger than the emissions scandal because it has that component. It has the component of the fact that they're messing up the environment in the name of greenwashing the technology. They're saying hydrogen, it sounds green. They market it as zero emissions from the tailpipe because there's just water that comes out of the tailpipe as the exhaust. And there's like commercials with like a guy drinking the water, and they're like, "This thing is just pure."
Wow.
Yeah. So people, most of my clients, the overwhelming majority, until they talk to me, they don't even know that it's not green, and they don't care about that ultimately, right? They want to do something good, and they're trying to be good people, and just going about their day. And so there was a selling point, but like
From
they're
California.
like, yeah, there you go. I don't know what that meant, but they're like, it's not green? You're telling me this isn't even green? I'm like,
I've been drinking that water for 2 years.
no, that part's true, right? It is just water. I think you'll die if you drink that water. But the water part's true, but they're negating the fact. It's like when they first came out with batteries, they weren't telling you how much the mining and the shipping, like you had to drive at 180,000 miles to get your first green mile out of a battery car. They've
Right.
gotten way better because they learned how to recycle the batteries. The batteries are much smaller, it's less lithium, less precious metals. So it's a different ball game than when they first started. But hydrogen was, and never will be in our lifetime green or commercially viable.
How many young Chinese children have to die for you to drive that that battery car, that robo car?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I can see the Chinese. They got them all out there getting that lithium. Little kids.
I mean, we're all complicit in that. With our iPhones.
I'm okay with it.
You're okay with
As long as they're not Americans.
Oh God. We're all people. We're all just humans. We're all just humans. I've also sued Gavin and Newsom.
What specifically? Because
Gavin's funding the situation.
Okay.
He's just unchecked signing off on the legislature, just giving money to these companies. Let's say, for
to
example,
these companies, you mean like Toyota or the
Toyota,
companies that are saying it's
Shell,
green?
also Shell and those companies, First Element Fuel, the fuel companies. Shell accepted a grant for $50 million. I don't know if they actually took the money or if they just accepted a grant. I haven't gotten that far in discovery. What we have seen is that Toyota actually had agreements with these companies that they're giving money to. I mean, obviously that they would, right? So they're basically creditors to these companies, and they gave Shell money too. Shell abruptly in 2023 pulls out. They were supposed to make 50 stations. They had 7, and they just shut it all down inexplicably. They have like a 3-line memo that they released on their website, like, we're not doing this. Thank you so much. Done. And they got money. They got money from the state.
Right.
I don't know that for sure, but I would. So
All right.
right.
So what? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, and I want to sue. So want to sue Donald as well. You got to sue Donnie.
Donald.
Yeah, I know you love him.
What did he do? I don't love him. Don't
Yeah.
do that. We just lost 25% of our viewers just by you saying that. But why? What did he do?
Well, he actually did good. So
Well, then he's heads on the chopping block too. That doesn't make sense at all.
Joe Biden, in the Inflation Reduction Act, put an uncapped tax credit for the hydrogen fuel industry. All they needed to do was produce hydrogen. They don't need to sell it. It doesn't need to be green. It doesn't need to do anything. Every kilogram of hydrogen they made, they got an equivalent dollar for dollar tax credit, uncapped. So these companies are just making hydrogen, storing it. They can't get it to people because the stations are breaking. It doesn't matter. There's 20 working nozzles in the entire state of California right now because the stations keep breaking down.
Right.
Newsom said, we'll have 200 by this day.
Newsom's a liar about pretty much everything.
He's very villainy looking.
Yeah. I was gonna say he's proof that if you're handsome, you can get far.
You look like you could be Sebastian Maniscalco's like cousin. Have you gotten that before?
Sebastian, who is that?
You don't know who that is?
Who is it?
He's now you don't know if it's good or bad.
I'm thinking. My first thought was Lord Farquhar. I used to have a.
Sebastian Maniscalco is an Italian comedian that has hit some modicum of fame. He was just in The Irishman, and he's had a couple specials out. He's very exaggerative in his performance. He's very funny.
What do you think? Maybe.
I'm gonna put a picture up. I gotta make a note to put a picture up.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I'm trying out here. Okay. No, I do. I think you do look like him. I stand by that. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's too far away. He can't see.
So you're suing.
In any event, the nozzles that are working are about the tune of 20. Okay, and they would you go to these pumps, it would just be down, and then imagine you needed gas, and you go to a gas station, and there would be one out of order. You'd be like, oh, this could be a problem.
Right.
Or you can go down the block. Okay, well, what if the next station's 12 miles away from your house?
Right. You're already down. You're already need.
So these people are spending a third of their fuel looking for fuel.
Okay, that's a problem. And so Trump, he said no more giving out money for.
So Trump kiboshed the Inflation Reduction Tax credit for hydrogen
for those companies. So it jacked up the price.
Sunsets it in 2026. I think that might have had something to do with it. But there's also a lot of grants from the Department of Energy. I don't know. What do you think? Should I sue Donald or not sue Donald? It's good for news. I mean, I don't know. Like,
Don't say that.
I don't think I can, honestly, even as I'm talking it out loud. The paperwork's ready to go, and like really that's the debate, because I'm just trying to get relief for these people. That's another thing, right? Like if you have a situation where someone gets injured, so the person's injured, the injury happened, you can litigate that to the end of time to make sure that you get the justice that you need.
But they're not going to be okay. No matter what, they're not going to be okay.
They're not going to be okay. The money, this incredible
Helps.
Bob Simon. He's an incredible trial attorney. I read a few of his transcripts to prepare. I did a trial in 2023. We won. It was a premises liability. We won $500,000 from a jury.
Nice.
And the closing argument though of Bob Simon is essentially like if you're in a car and Darth Vader all of a sudden freezes time, opens your car door, comes in your car and goes, "Here's a suitcase for you." And you go, "What is going on?" He goes, "There's $3 million in that suitcase." And you open it, it's $3 million. And you say, "Okay, this is amazing. What do I have to do to get it?" He says, "It's not what you have to do. Someone's going to hit your car. And it's going to affect how you can walk and your enjoyment of life, but you get $3 million. No one would take the money.
Right.
Everyone would close the briefcase and go, "Darth Vader, I don't want the money." But that's what the defendant did to my client.
Right.
They didn't give him the choice. That's sort of the situation. So in those types of scenarios where someone got injured and it was a one-time thing, you can milk the litigation and just keep going, and the family doesn't care either. The injury happened. In this situation, I got people calling me every single day. What the heck is going on? I'm still paying $600 a month, $300 a month, whatever it is for a car I can't use.
I'm not paying at all, and my credit, they put it on my fucking credit, and now I can't get even a car loan for a new car. I can't refinance my house. I got turned down for my security clearance or whatever. There's tons of stuff that you're
the security clearance is, you're right. That I don't know how you knew that, but Zachary Graham,
lots of stuff.
I guess Zachary is not even the only active military person that I represent, and that was something that he was like it was like grating on him. Like, what if that's why he took the loan.
Mm-hmm.
That's why he took the loan, because he didn't want to lose his security clearance if they start negative credit reporting.
Yeah, can't claim bankruptcy with this for security. If you have a security clearance. You can't claim bankruptcy. A lot of people will go, they get into debt, they don't know what to do. Bankruptcy is a viable option for someone that gets over their head. I mean, it's legal, it's reasonable. Like the government didn't come up with it because it doesn't happen. It doesn't need to be out there. Some countries don't. They'll throw you in jail. But the government, United States said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to give people a legal reason. The problem is that it can affect all kinds of things. So one affects you for the next like 7 years, can affect borrowing money on houses and your security clearance. That's a big thing. So people can lose all kinds of opportunities because Toyota gave me a car I'm paying $800 a month for. They told me I had $15,000 worth of credit. It was only $10 per kilogram, and then they jacked it up to $40. Like that I would be like, whoa. This was not our agreement. You said it only cost $10. a year and a half later, you jacked it all. You multiplied it times 4. Where's the difference? And my ass is hot, to be honest with you. I'm sweating a little. I mean, so
when I initially filed a class action, I was on the defense side, right? I represented these credit facilities for automakers and automakers in general. I never lost a motion to compel arbitration. So you're married, right? Even your wife, if you decide to sue your credit card company for something you don't like, they have an arbitration clause. And pretty much everything you buy in America has an arbitration clause. Okay. They could make your wife. So some people got clever and they'll make the wife be the plaintiff. Oh, she never signed the credit card agreement. No. The language says even your affiliates, your friends, whatever, they're subject to this agreement. And we've won. I've won that motion. So initially they threatened to compel arbitration. I said, no, let's just go to arbitration. Right. That's why I had 110 arbitrations. But then in state court, I fought the arbitration. Well, it was me and there was one other plaintiff's firm that was grouped into this like complex litigation, and they lost their motion to compel arbitration. So we get to proceed in state court and see a state jury. And then we have one federal action that is going, and I've now subpoenaed through a federal judge, which is great. I thought they'd fight it, but they haven't fought the subpoena yet. I'm sure the day before they're going to. But we subpoenaed the chief design officer for the Mirai, the person most knowledgeable for the fuel credits and all these various different things that they got to come and take a deposition. Now, my buddy's doing the litigation for 9/11. So there was Saudi money connected to the terrorism that happened, right? And there's a clear link. So the victims of 9/11 are suing the Saudis, the government, the actual country. Okay. That litigation is still going on in 2025. Okay.
Yeah, this just could be dragging on forever.
Right. The Saudis spent like a year and a half. The first day they come into court with they finally served them. You have to serve them through the Hague Convention, through like Switzerland, literally. Like there's all these different states. Like they couldn't serve shimmy, right? Imagine the Saudis. Okay. Yeah. So finally they serve them, whatever. They get to the courtroom. My buddy's telling me this. They go to the courtroom and they look around and they go, we don't like this courtroom. And then they leave. They just don't like the courtroom. The wood paneling didn't match. And the stakes are so high and the lawyers that they have are so well staffed that they literally fought for a year about which particular courtroom should the proceedings even continue in. Right? I'm basically litigating against the Japanese government. That's who Toyota is. They posted $64 billion in profit last year. It means that if all their accounting wizards got together and they're like, we can't hide $64 billion.
Right.
Like, this is what we made. This is the profit we got to say. So it's like, I got like a few other lawyers that I'm working with on this against the Japanese government. So
are you working for a large law firm? Like, tell me that there's somebody backing you. It's not you in your spare room with you 6 other idealistic lawyers that want to just do good.
No, it is that.
Oh God. Oh man,
I've teamed up with a guy that's very senior. He took Nissan to a class action jury trial for like a much smaller defect. And he won a class action jury trial. So I'm consulting with him and he's doing a lot of work in the background with me and to the foreground once the litigation even heats up more. But so it's still pretty early in the litigation. 97% of cases settle, right? I don't think the Saudis will settle. I think that you'll actually see in 10 years, you'll see a verdict.
Money means nothing.
Right. They don't care about that. So for them, they won't. They'll be in that 3%. But that's a real stat that 97% of cases settle.
Did you ever read the book or see the movie with John Travolta in it? It's amazing. A Civil Action.
No, should I?
Oh my God, it's so good, and it's funny because when people think of lawyers, they think, oh, they're rich. Most of them aren't rich. When they think of, they don't realize that the lawyer has to pay out of his own pocket for this. For this investigation or for this guy
100%,
or for I have to pay to serve.
I'm out $200,000 on this case. I haven't made a nickel in 3 years.
Yeah. If people don't realize, and then they're like, he takes 30%, motherfucker, or 40%. 30 or 40. It's usually typically it's 30, but that's for like personal injury. But it could be higher, I'm sure. And I'm thinking, what can it go to? Like 50?
This guy is so smart. This guy is dialed into the economics of everything the people part of it too. You're like 30%. I don't want to shortchange you though. So why don't you give you like you're
because that's personal injury, and I know that the more you have in it, the more of a percentage you should get back.
I put 50% in my retainers. Right. I think that ultimately, if it settles. If I have to take it to verdict, I deserve 50%. No one else even wanted to take these cases.
Yeah, nobody wants to.
But in the event I used to represent Audi and Volkswagen. Mm-hmm. We by statute in California, the lemon law, the manufacturer has to pay the lawyer.
Okay.
So the contingency fee is not from the money of the client.
Right.
It's a separate fee issue that even gets litigated separately after the case is settled. So this has lemon law aspects to it. You know, I talked about the seat heaters, the battery drains on this car. There's screen glitches. The parking sensors are also too sensitive. So people will be driving on a highway and they'll think like a deer is coming out of nowhere when nothing's there, a phantom thing, and it just jolts for someone. Like people have had real electrical issues with the car.
Right.
So there's a lemon law element to it. So ultimately, I don't think that I would have to eat from the client's share of this.
Right.
I have it in there to protect me, which is what I've been telling people, and I think that will come to fruition. But to your point about costs,
Yeah.
when I sued, so when we first sued in the class action space, then stipulated to go to arbitration in the class action on the federal docket, the lawyers that Toyota hired, they also represented the dealerships. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Papa Bear is saying, okay, I'll just handle all of this. Then once we go to arbitration, those same lawyers when we get to the first few arbitrations and the lawyers are like, well, you didn't serve the dealership. I'm like, you guys rep the dealership. No. We not officially. So they made me go and do the whole, I had to spend like 20 grand, 30 grand sending a process server to each dealership, reserving them, wasting 3 months and whatever, a bunch of money on that. And they have a lot of these kinds of tactics.
Just delay,
Yeah,
wear
yeah.
you down, have run up the bill to the point where you're so desperate that I may end up having to go into fucking bankruptcy just to keep fighting for this thing against this monster that's never going to run out of money.
Right.
In the civil action, they go into that. And I only know that, by the way, I know that because my brother-in-law was, once again, he was a personal injury attorney, and he's the one who's having to make deals with doctors to see people, promising them, writing up the notes, whatever that form is.
Well, that gets really shady. We've talked about another firm that's based out of this state. We briefly on the phone, we mentioned another firm. It's actually kind of how I even got here through that connection. When I was working at that firm, I saw some pretty shady stuff with that, where the doctors are cutting people open and they don't need to be cut open, but they know they'll get paid on the back end.
Yeah, no, this wasn't
so
like that.
It can get pretty crazy.
No, this is more like you have a back injury and you need to be treated. They're being, or it's a what do you call it, chiropractor. Like they go to chiropractor and then the chiropractor sees them for. They didn't charge them, but every time it's a slip, so it piles up and piles up. Or certain tests have to. It's an MRI. We need this. We need that. Well, somebody has to pay for that, right? Like somebody has to pay that. So my brother-in-law, so these are the personal injury attorneys. If they're either trying to get a deal, or they have to pay for it, or somebody's got to pay for it. They have to send out investigators. They have to take photos. It racks up and racks up. And I know that. So anyway,
I did a mediation with an auto manufacturer.
Okay.
It was unsuccessful.
Right.
$25,000 though to get a federal judge to shuffle back and forth in the room until 2 p.m. I paid for that. But what were you saying about the movie?
No, in the movie, which it's a real movie. It's a real story. It's called The Civil Action. It was a book. The book I've never read. I tried to read it. It's 850 pages or something outrageous. I just couldn't get through it because it's very technical. It's a lot of walking in the courtroom, law, very boring. No offense. He's interviewing.
Some taken.
He's interviewing different clients. But it really goes into, especially, and the movie does this too a lot. You really realize this in the movie. This guy's getting multiple mortgages on his property to pay experts to do research, to do surveys, to do all kinds of stuff. Test the water, test this, and it goes on and on and on. He sells his Porsche. At the beginning of the movie, he's a big shot. By the end of the movie, he is
destitute.
He's living in the office, sleeping on a couch. All the staff has been let go. He's destitute. He's destitute. If you sleep hot at night, you know how disruptive that can be. Whether you're having trouble falling asleep, you're waking up sweating in the middle of the night, or all of the above. That's where GhostBed can help. As the makers of the coolest beds in the world, GhostBed is your go-to for cooling mattresses, cooling pillows, and cooling bedding. From their signature Ghost Ice fabric to patented technology that adjusts to your body's temperature, every Ghost Bed mattress is designed with cooling in mind. So whether you want a plusher mattress that cushions your shoulders and hips, or a firm option with exceptional support, your Ghost Bed will keep you cool and comfortable all night long. When you purchase a Ghost Bed mattress, your comfort is guaranteed. You can try out your mattress for 101 nights, risk-free, to make sure it's the right fit for you. Plus, they offer free shipping, and most items are shipped within 24 hours. If you're not sure which Ghost Bed is right for you, check out their mattress quiz. You'll answer a few questions and get a personalized recommendation. Even better, our listeners will get 10% off for a limited time. Just visit ghostbed.com/Cox and use code Cox at the checkout. That's ghostbed.com/Cox and use code Cox for 10% off site-wide. This company that was poisoning the water in this small town, and 50 people got different lesions and cancer and all kinds of things happened, and he knew it and he couldn't figure it out, and he spent millions and millions, and they just wear him down to nothing. It's at one point one of the guys that owns like a chemical plant or that has involved in this whole thing comes to him. He's like, "What do you got in this? You got to have what, 10, 12 million?" And he kind of says, "Look, let me just give you the 10 to get them to drop the case to this. Like, we'll settle for this. You'll be made whole. They'll get 20,000 a piece." And he's like, "They lost their daughter. Their daughter died of," you know what I'm saying? Like, he's like, "No, I'm not doing that." He's like, "You can talk him into it." Like, and he's just, because he knows that the other lawyers know we've destroyed you. Like, we have people we know how bad it is for you right now. We're gutting you. And they've got all the money in the world. And, this lawyer, and so what's so funny too is like the clients are they're angry at the lawyer, and the lawyer's like, "My life is ruined. It's over. I'm claiming bankruptcy soon and may end up getting disbarred, for other whatever things. People aren't being paid. I'm juggling all kinds of shit. Like it's fucking, and you're upset with me because this hasn't settled fast enough, and then they don't want to take a trial. Look, a lot of these, they don't want to take, I want to go to trial. I want an apology." It's like, you're never getting an apology. It's so, you should, at the very least, you should watch the movie, because you'd be like, oh my God, like, it's a great portrayal of the stress of representing these clients that can't pay you.
Yeah, I know a ton of lawyers like that, where they staked for years on one case and they were poor until it hit. The clients in this situation,
but you're saying until it hit. Sometimes they don't hit. Sometimes you're $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in debt, and then
you get a letter from someone in prison that reveals that they had no case.
No,
the clients are super gracious. Their frustration is just with Toyota. They're like, "Toyota did me dirty."
Right.
That's it, and it's just a lot of pressure around it. But they've been very gracious to me. I'm literally doing everything we can. We're doing a rally. The clients have organized a rally this Sunday in Sacramento. The clients are rallying at City Hall, and then in Los Angeles,
they drive the vehicles in circles. You should do
There's live footage. It's recorded. Ukrainians used, I don't know how they got their hands on these Mirais, and they're blowing them up in Russian territory. I'm not kidding. And that's probably the best use for these cars, is to be used as like a war bomb. Some people are joking to light the car on fire. I mean, I think that would be good for news. But by the way, with Donald Trump suing him, there would be reasons, right? He could have sunsetted it sooner. There's still bleeding money on the tax credit. It hasn't been sunset. The Department of Energy is giving a lot. It's not. I'm being cavalier about it, but I'm not going to risk my license. But they are planning on doing a rally also in Los Angeles at City Hall. And I think if this continues, they'll start protesting at dealerships. They'll just be like Toyota Tuesdays. The first Tuesday of every month, we'll start protesting at Toyota of Glendale.
And there's over 1,000. Or you have over 1,000.
I have 1,000. The other plaintiffs firms that I'm in touch with, they have 300-400 themselves.
So how many cars were sold total?
20,000.
It's just silly. It's just silly of Toyota. I mean, it would cost them nothing just to go in and say, "Look, we're just going to buy these cars back. Shut this whole thing down."
They're still selling the car. This woman called me 2 weeks ago. She's got disability. she's a bit kooky, but I love her. Debbie Alvarez. She's a sweetheart.
Right.
She just got sold the car like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever, at Toyota of Orange. No disclosures. They're not telling her anything bad about the car. I'm not as buff as you. Okay, I do yoga. All right, I don't know if you're weightlifting. Yeah, I do yoga.
California.
I could stop making fun of California. California is a beautiful place, and it's much better than Florida. All right?
Oh my
The humidity, I was dying out here. I was getting just from my car to here.
The humidity, it's first of all, you could have just taken an Uber. Why'd you get a rent a car? Are you staying here for a few days?
Yeah, this guy's really dogging on me.
Am I right? Like both of us said this on the way. No, it was him on the way over. Colby, he was like, he's renting a car. I'm like, yeah. He's like,
no, I'm taking another meeting near Orlando, and I'm flying out of Orlando.
Oh, okay. Is this another Mirage? What's it called?
It's the Jen Hardy show. She's like put in a good word for me with Matthew.
Jen Hardy.
Yeah, she Voices of Justice. She's got 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. She's really
Voices of Justice.
Mm-hmm. She interviews a lot of judges, Jen Hardy, and she interviewed me and a couple clients on Zoom. And then I said, "Hey, I got on your show. I'm like, let me make a day out of it. I'll come to your studio."
Right.
So, to get the word out, like he said about this case, which I'm grateful for. It's
you sound grateful.
I think do I? Well, we got into a bit of a tiff with the California thing. No, I think that a big part of why this also isn't explosive in the news, I'm trying to do
I don't have a problem with California, by the way, at all. I'm serious.
It's the greatest place in the world.
No, it's the people that are in California. But go ahead.
What's wrong with the people in California?
Because they're just so...
They're health conscious?
No, like
health
conscious.
So
What are you
sad
talking
that
about?
they care about their health.
They're buying cars that are not even green. They think they're green. I mean, if you tell them they're green, you could... Listen, if I was active right now, I'd be taking all their money right now.
If you were active, what a way to say it. What a way to say it.
And
Newsom, do you
Newsom?
have that itch? I don't know. You're going to get mad at me if I go weave back into his story. You have that itch? Like,
of course.
Like in Ocean's 11, as soon as they get out, they're doing more, they're running more game.
Of course.
What's a good scam that you see that is not being exploited by people right now?
Being exploited. I don't know about what's not being exploited.
You'd go back to doing the mortgage thing.
I'd go back to doing them. Listen, there are these companies that will buy your house. They'll send an appraiser out, and like they're in California or they're in New York or one of those other liberal states. They'll send somebody out, right? They'll send somebody out to do a drive-by appraisal of your house. And then they'll say, and they give you an offer. Your house is worth $500,000, and you go, oh, I wanted $550,000, and you can argue with them a little bit, but they don't budge. And, oh no, that's it. But they'll close in like 5 days or 10 days as soon as you get the title work done. Well, it's the whole thing is like I don't necessarily have to own the house to get you guys to schedule a closing, fund that closing, and then wire that money into a bank account that I've opened in that person's name, right? I could satisfy the mortgage on the house. The homeowner doesn't even have to know. So I can call these people, schedule it. They send somebody a drive-by. I show up with a driver's license, and I don't even have to go to the actual closing. I can do it remotely. So almost all but like 13 states or something do remote closings. So I could show up and you show them your ID. They see your ID. Yes, it's me. Oh, okay. And they do a notary closing. And you close, and then they'll wire the money wherever you tell them to. I mean, that would be, of course. Now, are you on film? Yeah, you're on film. But if you're already on the run, and
did you
could do it,
use your special powers to get women? Like, did you ever watch How I Met Your Mother with Barney Stinson? There's the elaborate schemes this guy runs in order to get women.
I mean, I don't think I've ever. I've seen like one.
That you've seen them all. Okay, it's the same copy pasta every single time.
Right.
They're just doing the same 800 episodes. But the point of that character, which he's a great actor because he is a homosexual, so it's pretty interesting how like he's such a womanizer on the show. But like you didn't run game. Like what's that like being a criminal? Like the whole thing is the paradigm is if you're a bad boy, women are into that, and they can't get enough of that. Well, you were literally a quintessential bad boy. Like, what was that like for you when you were running game?
I don't think, but I didn't present myself that way. But it does kind of emanate, right? Like people, they get this feeling like something's not right.
Yeah, everyone knows.
I remember this one time I was dating this chick, and I mean, this is, let's say, our third or fourth date. We'd went out one night, went back to her place. I was amazing. And Dated her again a couple times. And so we went out another night, and that day I had a closing. I told her, I'm refinancing this piece of property. And I needed to get money out. And so I was getting out like $100,000, but like for some, whatever it was, the lender was like, we only let you get out like $100,000. I was getting out more than $100,000. So you can get out, like I was trying to get, let's say 120. And they, at the last one, they're like, look, we can only give you $100,000 out. And I said, well, wait a minute. I need you to cut the extra 20,000. I need you to cut that to my second mortgage. They're like, I have an unrecorded second mortgage, and I provide them the second mortgage, and I called it like AG lending. And I said, yeah, and I sent it to them, and I sent them. They go, do you have a payment schedule? It's funny you ask. I happen to have one. It's here's the last 6 months, and here's the payoff statement. And they were like, okay, no problem. So yeah, we'll lend you the 120. We'll pay off the 20,000, whatever it was. So they cut the check to AG lending, and then once it's all closed, it's clear. I've got my check. I deposit it in my bank account. I come back and I go, oh, you cut the check here to AG Lending. But if you look at the payoff statement, it says down here at the bottom, please make all checks payable to Amanda Gardner. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I missed that. And so they change it. Now, of course, we sent that to the lender because the lender won't allow a check to be cut to an individual. It has to be a corporation. So I knew I needed the initial check. Once they signed off on it, though, I just happened to have them change it, and I tricked them into changing it. That's by saying, oh, yeah, look, I didn't even notice that, because they don't know what the lender's policy is. So they change it. And then that night I go to dinner with Amanda, which is the girl I was dating at the time. And we barely met. We don't even know each other. Probably was the fourth date. And we're sitting there, and she's like, oh, how was this? Oh, yeah, good. Oh, she's like, you want to go to such and such? Oh, I'd love to do that. That'd be great. Yeah, yeah. And we're talking, and she says, oh, you said you had didn't you said you have a refinance or something today? I was like, oh shit, yeah, hold on. And I go, oh, whoa. And I pull out my thing, and I have a check, and I go, can you deposit this? And she looks at it, and she goes, what happened? I said, oh, so here they wouldn't. And then I give her an explanation that they wouldn't allow more than 100,000 be issued to me. So I told them that I owed you 20 grand, and they just cut it to you. No big. I said, it's just a glitch. It's just silly. And she was like, oh yeah, I can. She almost panicked. Like I can deposit it tomorrow morning. I'll deposit it, and like as soon as it clears, I'll get you a cashier's check. Like I don't know how long they'll hold it. I mean, if you want, I can go to the bank. Matter of fact, I don't know where this bank is, but I can check. And I'm like, no, just deposit it. Once it clears, I said, if I need the money, I'll ask you for the money. She's like, well, I'll get you the money. I went, okay, well, I don't need the fucking money. It's like, you just keep the money in your bank account. When you get it, if I need it, I'll take it. I said, you just give it to me. And she was just like, holy shit. Like,
who is this guy?
Who is this fucking guy?
He is a cross between Trevor Wallace and Sebastian Maniscalco.
I mean, let's talk about a panty dropper.
That's right.
You give a chick 20 grand. I don't know, it was 20. It might have been 19. It might have been 22. I don't know. It was around that. But it was more money than she'd ever deposited in her bank account, I'll tell you that. And it was over after that. It was over. I think she moved in like a week later. I bought her what did I buy her?
Did you have different girlfriends for different identities? All the Reservoir Dog characters?
No. What did I buy? What did Amanda have? She got like a $50,000. It was like an Infinity something. Was it a something? It was some kind of a SUV.
Let me finish with Devorah Alvarez.
Okay, well, you went all sideways.
100%. I keep going sideways. Devorah Alvarez, it takes a certain personality to manage 600, 700, 800 clients. You know what I mean? You gotta be a little bit.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of different personalities, a lot of different people.
Yeah. How many people can you maintain a relationship with? There's something, it's like 30 or 25 or something.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's actually like a study. There's like a study that says you can successfully manage relationships with you only up to, it's like 22 people or something.
I'm sure in a professional context, it's got to be different.
Oh, I'm sure, but still a lot of people to keep track of and kind of remember that, Jennifer's got 2 kids.
Some of them are really kind. They don't talk to me for more than 6 months. Yeah, I don't necessarily remember nuggets. Sometimes I save it into my phone. I mean, I do Zooms with them regularly, so I'm able to give updates generally, and people do Q&As and whatever. Right. But this woman, so she buys this car. What I was saying was, you go to the gym even more than me. That's how we got on the whole tangent. Okay?
That's right. Right. A little bit.
I have done fuel ups with people for the Mirai. It is very difficult to get it off of the car for me. Okay.
Because it freezes up.
She's a disabled woman.
Right.
She cannot, and I shouldn't be, I shouldn't have said her name because, I'm kind of outing her a little bit with the medical thing, but it doesn't, it's most of the women that I represent make this complaint. Now imagine you're a woman and it's 2:00 in the morning and you're in a sketchy part of California, which does exist, by the way. So you're in a sketchy part of California. It's 2:00 in the morning. You are stuck to the pump.
Mm-hmm.
That's terrifying, right? It's like off a highway somewhere.
Right.
That's part of the problem.
Is this fuel flammable?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I was thinking like, can't
It's
they?
the most flammable. It is the most flammable.
Oh.
What are you going to do? Put a lighter there?
Yeah, I was thinking like you
That's insane. That's insane.
get rid of the problem
Could be-
altogether.
Yeah, a lot of problems would be gotten rid of there and some other bigger ones. But, so discovery is about to heat up. We have different venues, different legal vehicles that we're prosecuting this with. And it's just a story of complete corporate disregard. Like these people in ivory towers making decisions that are people get into, there's a guy, DeLoss. He's a cool guy. He has an interesting startup, Robo Froyo machines. How interesting is that? Like
Robo Froyo.
Yeah. That's part of what's great about being a lawyer. You learn
Frozen
so much
yogurt.
about frozen yogurt.
Oh, okay.
But the whole thing is automated, right? So it drives out to locations and then it drives itself back. But it sells in like an honor system. It's very interesting. So he bought one of these cars.
The honor system.
Yeah, California.
Oh my God. You see how that's working.
He bought one of these cars. He's very forward thinking. Hydrogen, it kind of made sense. He buys one of these cars. He gets into a tiny fender bender. He was the first person with this problem, and I've since had a lot of people with this. They don't have the parts in California to fix these cars. So they're just saying each one's a total loss.
Okay.
But there's always a gap in the value of the car and the insurance.
Right.
So now this guy's stuck $5-6 grand, 10 grand. He's under pressure from that.
Down. Yeah.
They're all upside down. Oh, here, I cannot believe I didn't mention this. These cars sell for like 60 grand MSRP. The second you drive them off the lot, they're worth $2,000.
Right.
You ever heard of that? Depreciating by like 95%?
No, that's
and it's a Toyota. You really don't see that coming. So these people, they after a week or two, they're like, oh, this is a bloody nightmare. I need out of this car.
Right.
And then they go back to the dealership. They're like, we'll give you $5,000 for it. They're like, I owe you $30,000. I owe you $40,000. What does that mean? You give me $5,000.
What do you think?
If it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And Toyota is now making itself very unreliable to these people in California.
Do you remember? Of course, you don't. You weren't even born yet. I'm gonna say Audi was making 45,000 cars a year. A woman slipped and stepped on the gas, and the car shot forward and wrecked into a building.
Whoa.
And when the cop showed up, she said, I had my foot on the brakes and it lurched forward. It was the craziest thing ever. And that was her story. I didn't hit the gas. It was in neutral, or it was in, and it shot forward. I can't believe this. It's a brand new Audi. And kind of like people were like, whatever. And within a day or two, another person said I was sitting in traffic. The car jumped forward and hit this person in front of me. And the newspapers jumped on it and said, these Audis have a major issue. They talked to a couple experts who said, well, I mean, yeah, it's just, if this is wrong or this or the fuel injection or something, it's very possible that it's clearly there's an issue. They went from 45,000 cars a year over the next year, 2 years, year to 2 years, it dropped to 15,000. They closed plants. They did everything. So by the way, these weren't the same types of Audis. They have completely different engines, fuel systems, everything. But because the newspapers jumped on it, it destroyed Audi. They almost went out of business. They were just coming up on BMW. This is back in the 90s. No, this is in the 80s. They just were about to approach. BMW was doing like 55 or 60. They were just coming up like, hey, we're going to be a competitor. Boom, all the way back down. Because two women No, I don't know if I know one was a woman. I don't know if both of them. It ended up being 2 or 3 because then once the newspapers did it, boom, next thing you know, you got a couple other women and a couple other. I keep saying women. That's horrible, and I feel bad about that.
It's very misogynistic.
As much as I could feel bad, but it's 2 more people said, "Hey, the car lurched. Like when there was an accident, bam, guess what? Just lurched forward. Just I was sitting there, or I stopped, my foot was on the brakes, or whatever. I put it in neutral, it shot forward, and so." It just, like I said, dropped. But then as they did the research and they looked into it and the whole thing, and it came back, they were like, it's not possible. We could not recreate that in any scenario at all. It's absolutely impossible. These people started that. These people jumped on the bandwagon. It almost destroyed an entire company. It wasn't possible. Never happened again.
Wow.
So I'm surprised you've never heard that about the Audis.
There's so many things like that, but I used to represent a company. I don't want to say the name, so we'll just say what it rhymes with. Schmouty.
Okay.
And we were in litigation, and this guy said that the car, it's like an A8, and it just stalls. The gas is not responsive. And I deposed this guy, and I'm like, the jury's going to hate this dude. He's like some rich white guy,
right?
Good-looking guy. They're not going to want to give him any money. And I fought the case like crazy, and I was going to take it to trial. And the partner is like, call the expert in Germany, set up a call just to make sure, because you're really pushing this case.
Right.
I said, okay. I called the expert, and the expert right away goes, oh yeah, this is a big problem. Yeah. And I'm like,
oh shit.
I'm like, he's like, tell them it's a new software update. We'll clean it up maybe in a few months. I'm like, oh no, I'm not. I settled that case that day. I just paid them out immediately. I was just like, done. So
we're going to do you a favor.
I got a good deal. It was interesting how much it activates like a sociopathic part of me, right? Because my grandparents suffered at the hands of different German things.
Come on.
Oh, for sure. And yet I was like nickel and diming anytime I could win and get an attaboy from like some random corporate guy that doesn't even know me or care. I was like trying to win. You know, when I represented the bank, same thing. I was like trying to win. It's very interesting how that, like the Stanford prison experiment, you really like when you're in a certain position at the seat of the table, you really try and win. I guess maybe just certain personalities. But
have you seen? There's a meme of I forget what his name is. It was William Dafoe playing the Green Lantern or Green Goblin, and he's at the boardroom, and he stands up. He's like, he looks around. He's going, "You can't do this to me." But the caption is, have you seen it?
Yeah, you know what I sacrificed.
Yeah. But the caption is, the United States, Japan, like it names off all these countries starting World War III without him. And he's like, do you know what I've said? You can't do this to me. Like, I started this.
That's great.
Fucking great.
Yeah.
Sorry, horrible. What is this costing? I mean, what is the dollar amount to correct this massive, clusterfuck?
Well, in reality, the taxpayer dollars is like close to $1 billion. It's hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that are being spent.
Another wise investment from Gavin Newsom's part. Sorry.
No. If the technology was green, by the way, I wouldn't have taken the case.
Right.
I'm okay. You want to try something out? You making something green and it doesn't work? I'm not going to sue you over that. Right? Okay. Someone bought some alien technology. It's on them. Do more research. They're trying to do something good for the environment. But you're telling me that this thing is sinister to the bone? That it hasn't been green, and what isn't going to be green? It's already 11 years into this thing, and the state is just giving the money away to build these stations that are helping who? The consumer's getting hurt because the car does not work. Car can't get fuel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So who's benefiting from it? The environment's getting worse. It's not helping California's mandate. I'm pretty sure that I don't know if it's directly from Tesla, but they're buying carbon offset credits. Could be from Tesla because these EV companies get tax credits. They get carbon credits rather.
Yeah.
Right. So how ironic would it be if I could find in Discovery that they've been buying from the EV companies, like Elon Musk is selling them tax credits, their carbon credits rather, so they can pass this off as green technology.
Right.
And it's not. So yeah, hundreds of millions of dollars coming out of California's piggy banks to fund just absolute nonsense. Just nonsense. There's nothing viable about this. There's nothing commercially viable. It's not helping the environment. It's not helping the consumer. The consumers are they're screaming from the rooftops. Toyota did this in other countries.
Right.
Okay.
Has it worked
Scandinavia, Germany. Failed in every single one. They gave the Canadian government 45 Mirais, and the Canadian government gave it back. They're like, no, we don't want this.
So it's not like they've got a track record of failure.
Track record of utter failure. This is not working. Now, people hate lawyers, okay? Sometimes it makes sense. All right. Sometimes it makes sense. You know, sometimes you love them. In Russia, you go and try and tell them, oh yeah, we'll do hydrogen cars. They'll be like, no.
Yeah.
You know, they're just not, the government's not even letting you come in to try that.
Right.
In Norway, where they failed this Mirai stuff, right? They're just eating mothballs, all these hydrogen stations, and the government eventually steps in. In the United States, it's the lawyers, it's private lawyers that keep companies in check. It's much more free market based. So it's literally up to me and the other lawyers that are prosecuting this to try and knock this off.
Right.
Because the government is not only not stepping in, they're funding the situation.
Yeah, they're giving them money.
The only one that's doing that. The Canadian government got it from them for free and said it's failing at the pump 2 out of 3 times.
You keep saying the government. Mm-hmm. You mean the state government?
The feds, like I said, were giving, through the Inflation Reduction Act, they were giving a lot of tax credits to this too.
Yeah, but that was Biden.
That was Biden.
This isn't looking good for your people here.
No, but you know, to the point of California, you're making fun of us a lot, and you know, I take offense to that. But the California,
you can't.
the California consumer friendliness of the laws. So the lemon law, I was saying before, right? When I represented a company, let's say Schmouty, it rhymes with Schmouty.
Is the lemon law, is that a state law? Because
It's a state law.
I know Florida has a lemon law.
They do, but it is nowhere near California, right? California is like, oh, you messed up. You get triple damages like off the bat. They have to pay the attorney's fees and costs, right? You sell a lemon in Texas or Alabama, it's like, no, good luck, partner. Like, there's nothing you can do, pretty much. Like, even New York doesn't have good lemon law.
Right.
Like, California is not just lemon law. The Consumer Protection, there's a Consumer Legal Remedies Act. Like, there are so many different consumer laws that just overly protect the consumer. That's why it's the best place to be an attorney, because the laws there are just so favorable for the little guy. So we're leveraging that. We're leveraging that now to try and bring some justice and get people out of these cars.
Right.
Yeah.
So partially the same thing that made it an ideal environment to get this stuff pushed through is also an ideal environment to get it corrected.
I interviewed the California Air Resources Board. Yes. Yes. I interviewed the California Air Resources Board director, Mary Nichols. She's twice been in that position. It's a very high position. It's the position that allowed the legislature to even be funding this. And like, it's just democratic, you know. I mean, I'm pretty, it's labels are unhelpful. And I hate the fact that it's like everything's so divisive and everything falls under 2 labels, whatever. But like, she just was not getting it. She was just not understanding. I was like, I represent hundreds of people that have been affected by your policies that are in this situation. Yeah, well, you know, Toyota was just trying to do a good thing. I'm like, oh, well, it's not green. And she's just like dodging and weaving throughout this, like, you know, hour Zoom that I had with her. It just, sometimes when people get into these policy situations, they're just driven by idealistic things that never come to fruition that end up really hurting people along the way. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing that now with this situation. To be honest, when I first got the case, I physically didn't want to sue Toyota. I'm like, I drove a Corolla. It was the first like nice car that I bought. Mm-hmm. And it was so good. I never had to take it in for service. It was like a beautiful car.
People love Toyota.
Yeah.
We just bought that. Like I told you, my wife's truck is a Toyota. She loves Toyota. We bought Toyotas because we're like, I'm not spending the next every 3 years getting a new car. Let's get something that we can drive till the fucking wheels fall. Like, you'd be driving that thing for 10 years.
Yeah.
You know? And everybody I know what's my buddy Steve? Stefan. Anyway, Steve, he's a pilot for, what's that horrible airline?
Frontier?
No.
Spirit?
It's Spirit. But actually they never seem to be wrecking, or crashing. But anyway, he's a pilot for them. And ever since I've known him, he's been like, listen, you get a car, get a Toyota. Like he and his wife both drive Toyotas. He's like, you could drive them forever. They never break down. They go and go. Taliban uses them. Those guys aren't fools. You know, they're great. That's why I keep thinking like, why not? And like you said, how much money do they make, or do they make every single year? Like, you're like $1 billion company. Like,
Trillion.
what's the $1 trillion
Literally.
company? Why don't you just come in and fucking pick these things up? Look, you chalk it up to, we made a bad decision. We fucked up. You're certainly not the worst fucking decision you've ever made. You know, go in, say, look, man, we're just going to take the cars back. Here's a little check. You know, there's all you guys. My bad. I'd have more respect for somebody who says, I fucked up. Everybody fucks up. You know, I fucked up. Here's what we did. We made a mistake. Take these back. You guys stop selling these cars. It's not working. We invested in the wrong thing, and maybe in 15 years it'll be something. Maybe it'll power satellites or rockets to Mars or something. You know,
They've tried a lot of different use cases. The expert that I hired for my case, he's just expert. He's some guy. I was following him when I was first getting into the case. He's just some guy that's writing out of his basement on hydrogen constantly. And I'm like, oh, I want to hire this guy. He knows, and he had done some very high level professional studies on this. So I guess I just called him a nerd. I don't know, but he
The nerds are running the world now, bro.
right. Thank God, it's my time. The buses that have tried and failed, all of these city buses, right? They're doing it again in Riverside. They're still spending money on this nonsense, California. It's unbelievable. The bus failures, because they, like you said, oh, maybe it'll power this, power that. They've tried all these things. It is not commercially viable. This thing is too expensive to store, move, too dangerous. It's too finicky.
Plus the energy to make it, right?
Yeah.
You're saying the energy to make it. You're spending a ton of money on the energy to make a product that's doesn't work.
Musk calls them fuel cells, hydrogen fuel cells.
Right.
Yeah, fuel cell technology. I mean, Trump just mentioned it in his speech, the hydrogen car. So I'm like, oh, maybe there's some hope. And in Nebraska, while he was campaigning in 24, he mentioned it in a speech, hydrogen car. So I was like, okay, maybe there's something there. But it's really hard to break through. I mean, he sucks up a lot of the news in general. I mean, obviously, there's a lot going on in the world and whatnot. But really, Toyota's ad dollars are just so tremendous, and they employ so many people. Like, and it's just such a great company. Like, obviously, you know by now, I'm sure, the McDonald's case with the woman burning the coffee.
I've mentioned it 2 or 3 times on this show.
There you go. Same thing, right? Like in the 90s, the zeitgeist, people were like, oh, sure, taking advantage of McDonald's. It's like, it's so interesting how that is the way that we perceive. So it's like a lot of people are knocking me, you know, oh, you're suing Toyota. Why are you doing that? You know, the car works. Like, I had one arbitrator tell me that. He's like, you know, if you can't get fuel, why is that Toyota's problem? And I'm like trying to explain
You were told me there would be fuel stations. You told me.
So his counter to that was, well, if you could just tell this guy has like 10 Toyotas his whole life, he just loved them. I mean, you're going to get that, right? 110 arbitrators, you're going to get 1 or 2 bad eggs. And he's like, what if they built a wall around your car? Would you be able to sue them for a bad car because you can't get fuel?
You're a fucking idiot. I can't talk to you anymore. Like that, you're saying that.
Right, I can't say that to the arbitrator.
Right. But you see what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that's. Do you see what I'm saying? Like that. Like if that's your fucking rationale, that, and that's what you just came up with to validate your stance, then you're not worth talking to. Like that's ridiculous. Like we got a big boy studio coming. That's exciting.
You better invite me back.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just thinking like but you know, Jesus, California, that's a hell of a fucking flight. But yeah,
it's fun enough.
Yeah.
Florida's not too bad.
Well, it is the heat. That's the only thing I don't like about Florida. I hate going outside. I hate walking in the car. You could melt. And I think it is. It's like living
come
on the
to
surface.
California.
It's like living on the surface of the sun. I'll deal with it. There's not even a thought in my head that I would think that would.
Have you ever been to
possible.
California?
Multiple times. I go about every 2 months.
And you don't absolutely love it?
I love the weather. I love
really
the weather.
don't like the people. What, someone rubbed you the wrong way there?
No, yes. I think the whole I feel like I don't understand the homeless that are everywhere.
Because it's better to live outdoors in California than in a palace in Florida.
Because they pay them, and that's the kind of logic people use. Because they pay. You could be a professional. Because you can
go outside.
Because you could be a professional. You make it lucrative to be a homeless person. Like they're being
lucrative
paid. Like they get.
There's a lot of services.
A lot of services, right? says there's a lot of services like, and then so and Newsom, how many times we're going to get rid of homelessness, and then it triples in the next 5 years because he's coming up with all of these plans and then
there's so much fraud with that stuff.
Right. Well, and then on top of that, then it's like then the people running in and just stealing shit and leaving and because we're gonna.
No,
it's
that's
not,
media hype. That doesn't really happen.
Well, so let me tell you what happened when I went to L.A. and stayed in L.A. I walk outside.
Where'd you say?
I just stayed in a really nice place. It was actually an older hotel that they just renovated.
Where?
It was in downtown LA. I can't tell you that. I don't know exactly where. It was also 5 years ago.
It's not a true story.
It was 5 years ago. So
this guy's recall when he's talking about his running game on people for mortgages, he's like, and it was Wachovia Bank, and the guy was a junior VP at the company, and he's like, this thing I'm slandering California on, whatever, something.
It's not slander because it's true. So, but I remember walking outside, and I was next to these condos. The condos are like $1.5 million, right? And there's like 1 bedroom, 1 bath, $1.5 million. And these are nice new building that I was talking to the person in like the clerk in the hotel, right? Because I walked out and there's a homeless guy who's living in the like the alleyway area, and there's homeless people that have tents everywhere. Like there's tents, there's like 5 tents, and I'm like, these people are camping out here, and you can tell, like you could definitely tell, this guy's taking a shit over here. And what was so funny was I went down when I walked into like I'm sure I got this wrong by the way. I'm saying CVS. I don't know if they have CVSs. I don't know. Because the other day I said 7-Elevens, and I said, oh, these guys are robbing 7-Elevens. There's no 7-Elevens in Atlanta. That's a lie. Your story's a lie. It's a fucking convenience store. I don't know if it's a 7-Eleven's convenience store. Is it a CVS? I don't know. It's like a drugstore. So I went down there because I forgot hairspray. So I go down there to get hairspray or deodorant, whatever I forgot. Once again, not positive what, but I had to go in. When I walk in, they had a security guard who's like looking at me, and he's like giving me like a heart, like practically kind of following me, and everything's locked up. This was maybe a few months, maybe 6 months or so. They had made that law where it was like if you steal anything under $800. And so I go there and I pay for the thing, whatever, and I ask, where is there a something? I forget what I asked. Is there such and such around here? And because whatever it was, they didn't have what I wanted exactly, so I bought what I could get. And then she was like, she's like, there was, but they closed. And I was like, oh, okay. And then whatever it was, I went back to the hotel to ask. I said, oh, yeah, I just got, so did they get you what you want? No, they said there was another place. They said, yeah, there's a lot of places that are closed down here. I said, why? She said, well, I mean, they're just stealing them blind. And I went, what do you mean? She said, well, it was like a mom and pop. And I went, what? And then so there was a guy there too. He's like, yeah, there's like the mom and pop stores can't make it. He's like, it's only the big chains that are still around, Starbucks. He starts naming them off. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, they'll go in and they just steal everything. And then you can't stop them. You can't attack them. You can't. I go, is that why they have a security guard? He's like, yeah, but he can't really do anything. They have to steal enough for him to try and stop him. He's there. He's like, but he won't grab you. He won't touch you. And I'm like, really? He's like, oh, he'll get arrested. And I'm like, so they just steal? And they were like, yeah. And this is when it was just happening. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, I said, so what is the homeless people? I said, that guy took it, like, there's like, this guy said, it stinks out there. Like, this guy just took a shit. He goes, you want to hear what's really funny? And I go, what? He said, the police, he can shit in front of a cop. He said, but the guys in the multi-million-dollar condos next door, if he walks out with his dog and his dog shits, he has $200 fine if he doesn't pick it up. And I'm like, you're kidding me. The laws are so ridiculously
but that was under George Gascon, who was the DA. He lost recently. There's a new guy, Nathan Hochman, in there. He's changing things up. It's getting a little bit better. I was actually friends with a homeless guy. He edited about 10 episodes of my podcast, Bumdog Taurus. Shout out to Bumdog. Great guy. I interviewed him on my podcast. There's a whole psyche. A lot of them it's really sad because they are on drugs, so it's really terrible and they're dangerous. But a lot of them aren't. A lot of them just choose that life, that vagabond lifestyle.
I agree. I've surveyed many homeless people. And
I don't need to tell you anything about them.
One of the questions was, do you believe that in the next year you will be gainfully employed? And not one of them said, yeah, I'm trying right now. All of them were like, no, I'm not even. I'm like, are you even looking for it? They're like, no, this is it. It's it for me. So the idea that you're going to provide these people who aren't even trying, and I get it. Like a lot of them also have mental problems. Like they're bipolar. They can't seem to get along. Like I get it, but to incentivize or cater to people that aren't trying to help themselves is it is a waste of decent human beings who are working and struggling to take their tax dollars and put it in the hands of people that haven't earned it. It doesn't make any sense. And absolutely, it's absolutely unfair to people that are trying to raise families, people who are trying to do decent things with their lives, when these guys are robbing and doing drugs and polluting the streets. And by giving them this safe haven, more and more people come there. And you know where else I went? San Francisco. 10 times worse than LA. And they were everywhere in LA. I went down to Skid Row because that's where the guy, Soft White Underbelly, he used to film out of Skid Row. It was blocks after block.
It's a city. It's a city.
There's nowhere in Florida that's like that. Nowhere. Drive downtown.
Because you'll die outside.
It's not because you'll die outside. It's because the sheriffs will make your life so overwhelmingly miserable, you will want to leave and go to California or New York where they'll be acceptant of you. Or you just make things so difficult for people that they get jobs, clean their lives up, get off drugs, and do the right thing. You know? And the one thing I learned in prison is that some people just need to be permanently removed from society. You know, it's horrible. It's wrong. It's sad.
Under what
feel
circumstances?
bad. I'm not sure exactly. All the circumstances I think are different. I think you have a federal sentencing guidelines. I think they're strict. You know what I'm saying? But I think what I'm saying is giving that person a safe haven. Like you could work a job.
By the way, you mentioned Olive before.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've told you I've done some pro bono work for them.
Okay.
They only help people that weren't Jewish. They do not only help Jewish people. There's a
Right.
lot of good organizations that help.
Right. I've never seen them help anyone that wasn't Jewish, but I also am not, privy to all of the
Oh
people
my
that they
God,
help.
I worked on this freaking clemency petition. I submitted so many to Biden, never got a single one through. Trump did like every single one that they asked for, and a lot. And I mean, I don't think I've worked on any other projects to help the Jews. But the way I got involved with them, Aleph, is because when the Afghan Taliban situation, when they took over, the Taliban took over, they were hunting down women, lawyer, and judges in the streets, slaughtering them, hunting them down and killing them because it's like haram that you would imprison me. You're a woman. You have no business doing that. So they're slaughtering them. So Aleph got involved with Kim Kardashian and J.K. Rowling, and they jetted, they got private jets through Qatar, and they managed to get people out. So I was helping on like the legal end with the visas. And they're not helping Jewish people there. So that was my introduction to the organization,
Right.
actually. And they've just helped a lot of other people. I mean, the federal sentencing guidelines. That's what jumped my thinking on this is just they're way too strict and way too crazy.
It's very hard. It's extremely hard.
The privatization of prison is insane. The fact
Yeah, I
that
don't
you can
think
on the
private-
stock market you can buy and sell stocks based on whether or not there's going to be beds filled in the facility, like it's a nursing home, like it's a hotel. Like,
Yeah, I don't
Oh, we
think-
had a great quarter this year. Like,
Well, the government shouldn't be in the position or in the business of pissing away taxpayer money. But I also think that there are some things that the government should handle and shouldn't be privatized. Prisons shouldn't be private. Police forces shouldn't be privatized. They need to be monitored. But there's lots of things that the government, like you shouldn't privatize certain things. And prisons are one of those. I think it's a bad idea to try and do things as inexpensively as possible.
another frontier that I'm capturing, and this is national, is solar panels. So solar panels are completely rife with fraud. You would love this. It's total scams. They lie to people about the loan terms. So they say, yeah, you can easily transfer this loan.
I talked about this the other day, didn't I? Go
No
ahead.
kidding, really?
Yeah.
So I just filed a first class action. It actually got picked up a little bit by the news. But basically, they come into these homeowners. They say that, yeah, you can get these solar panels. It's the best thing. You're not going to need electricity. And there's all these hidden jacked up fees The biggest thing is that they essentially require you get a tax credit from the government, you get like a check. They require you to give it to them as part of this thing, but they're kind of hustling you that you don't realize that that's what's happening. And not only that, you can't transfer the solar loan. So if you ever want to sell the house, you can't really transfer this $80,000 loan that's tied to the panels on your house.
Right. On the new guy's house. Now
Exactly.
you're still stuck with that payment.
Well, no, the loan will, if you want to transfer it, they have to have new terms. And so they'll be like 20% now for the next guy. And they get to do that, and they get to manipulate you. But when you ask them, because people will ask them about that, they'll say, "Oh yeah, no, it's easy to transfer." So it's another class action that I'm working on. That's even much more beginning stages. But if you have a solar panel issue, I really want to hear about it, because there's so many brokers that are just sucking up the tax credits in nefarious ways, and really killing some people's vibe because they can't sell their home, and they can't. Imagine not being able to have the peace of mind that if you want to move your family, you literally can't do that. And then that's when they start looking into the documents and realizing, hey, that's a finance charge I didn't realize. So solar panel is definitely a new frontier of litigation. You're gonna hear about that because it was a huge boon during the Biden administration. They gave a lot of extra money for that, and again, Trump kiboshed that.
Right.
So the person to clean up the bodies and get people out of these loans are the lawyers.
If these are extra fees, is it possible? Like, what's the interest rate? Is it possible that you can add the fees into the interest rate and claim usurage?
No.
Oh.
But smart. You should have been a lawyer.
Yeah, well, a lot of things should have gone different. Hey, you guys, I appreciate you watching. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified of videos just like this. Also, we're going to leave all of Jason's links in the description box, including his website. You can go on his website, fill out a form if you have any legal issues and you need a lawyer and you want to have a quick chat, whatever. Or, hey, maybe you bought a bad car. You could also probably, if you're in California, you might have bought one of these amazing vehicles by our sponsor, Toyota. No. But we're going to leave all of his links in the description box. You can go there. You can go to his website. You can go to his YouTube, Instagram. He's got all the socials. And like I said, you can fill out a form if you need to. Please consider joining our Patreon. It's $10 a month. It really does help Colby and I make these videos. Thank you very much. See ya.